Welcome back to the program, everyone. Our national dailies gets our attention next. And the only man I hear say, thank God it's a Monday, joins us live on the program. I don't know how he does it, but I can confirm to you guys that he's an early morning person. He's an early bird. I don't know how you do it, Mr. Dayo Kintobi joins us live on the program. For every time I get to the studios when I'm on this show, I meet you in the premises of Channel TV. So I don't know, do you sleep at all?
Absolutely. It's just that Sunday into Monday morning is always reduced sleep because we are so anticipating Monday morning that we don't really get to even want to sleep at all because the excitement of Monday is coming. So thank God it's Monday, Nigeria.
I understand that. I mean, I don't know how the morning guys that do it, but it's always, I mean, waking up in the morning and just reduced sleep is what that phrase, I think I'll go with that phrase, reduced sleep. Because you have to keep tracking events. In case there's a breaking story or developing story and all of that. Okay, let's get things started this morning as we pay attention to the national dailies. And we begin with the Abuja Inquirer. It says that APC heavyweights battle for lone FCT Senate slots. APC heavyweights battle for lone FCT Senate slots. Aduda and Abdullahi in crunch race. Wike Towers over contests, controversy, trails, reps, primaries. I mean, all eyes have been on these primaries over the weekend. It's been interesting indeed. I think for Abbas, Tajin Abbas, Obasa, and a few others, the coast is clear. They've picked the tickets, you know. Hurdle 1 has been crossed. But for others, you know, I think today in Akwa Ibom as well, at Pabio, we'll get to know what's going to play out there and all of that. But it's the fact that already, Mr. Kintobi, there are a lot of concerns, there are a lot of disputes, there are a lot of grievances, a lot of controversies and all of that has, you know, has surrounded this process. Are you worried for the APC?
Well, yes, without a doubt, there's got to be some concern because even in the run-up to the primaries, we could already see that it was going to be contentious. From that idea of consensus versus imposition. As you know, the 2026 Electoral Act gave only 2 ways of conducting primaries, either through consensus or through direct primaries. And it gave specific instructions on how the consensus will play out. But the way it's been happening in the APC has been a bit contrary to what the Electoral Act dictates and has left a lot of aspirants with a bitter taste in their mouths because the powers that be within the APC have been the ones who have been selecting who the ultimate ticket holder will be without the acquiescence of the other aspirants. So you see a lot of people refusing to step down, refusing to endorse the candidate that is anointed by the party and insist on going for a bruising direct primary. So which more or less puts them at loggerheads with the party structure in terms of what the party wants. So going into the election, there was already strife. There was already tension going into the primaries. And we saw that play out in different places across the country. Some were uncontested, like Obasa, for example. There were some who had just an easy run. But by and large, if you looked in different places across the country, there were situations where there were unexpected upsets. You mentioned in the beginning of the show the one about Obi Kubana. And
Kubana Chief Priest.
Kubana Chief Priest. What happened with that one, which was a surprise. Because first of all, remember his role in City Boys. So
somebody joked that the Village Boys did the first one on the City Boys.
So the way it has gone is not surprising because we could see this internecine feud pulling the party apart in the run-up to the elections based on internal mechanisms of preferred candidates. The truth of the matter is that APC from the beginning has never shown signs of really being internally democratic, irrespective of, you know, the propaganda. They've always leaned in the direction of a strong man, a party favorite, all of the rest of you fall in line, and anybody who runs counter to that usually pays a price. And that's why I'm a bit surprised that Desmond Elliott. I'm actually quite happy that he's standing up to the power structure. I like that. I believe that.
I wonder how it's going to end.
Well, it's not going to end well for him. That's the truth. That's the truth. It's not going to end well for him. But I like the fact that he's standing up to the party and saying, no, we have to go through a democratic process. You shouldn't have to impose somebody. I, as an aspirant, have a right to run. Anybody has a right to run as long as they qualify, and you shouldn't try to squeeze or elbow somebody out unless he's willing. Perhaps you sat down and negotiated. He said nobody's ever talked to him about him. And remember, he's the incumbent, so he has first right of refusal, even though on another side, I think he's done 3 terms, which is 12 years. So I think enough is enough. Let him go. Then also the way he came in, considering the history of politics in Nigeria.
The exact same process is playing out.
The way he came in is the way they're trying to move him out. So he should just accept it and say, okay, my time is over and he should go. But I also like the fact that he's fighting. If more people stood up to the party structure and said, no, we're not accepting this, let's go through a democratic process, then it would reduce this tyrannical tendency that I begin to see within the ruling party, whereby they want to impose their candidates to the detriment of other aspirants who should be given a fair chance to test their popularity. I don't know why anyone would be scared of a free and fair direct primary to test your popularity, see how many people line up behind you, especially the incumbents who can run on their record. I listened to that video of Elliot yesterday where he was talking about the things he did in the last 12 years for his constituents. And you know, on the one hand, as he was reeling out his interventions, and so then his campaign DG, the Director General of his campaign, was saying, I'm defecting to the other aspirant who is contesting
the female.
Yeah, the female who's contesting for his seat.
Nigerian politics is very brutal.
Oh, absolutely.
When it favors you, it's all good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't favor you,
when you fall out
great.
of favor,
so,
yes.
You have to, when you get into the space, so I was just smiling when you guys were talking because some people have been looking for a certain seat since 2015. You can't just show up and unseat them. It doesn't work like that.
No.
When it comes, so when you were talking about Cubana chief priest, I was just smiling. It doesn't work like that.
Absolutely.
And then some of the process that brings certain people in. If you don't have the machinery to fight the hegemony, the system, the establishment that brought you in, don't even start the fight.
Absolutely.
Just like what happened in River State in the first place. You may argue, oh, no one man should control, but how were these people brought? Just like Desmond earlier you talked about.
Yes.
So we're looking at places like River State now. In fact, River State was even easier for Nyesom Wike because what they did was to make sure that the people that would give them trouble,
they were screened
they
them
were
out.
loyal. They screened them out, so they're still and all of that.
And
but
in line with what you're saying about people who've been waiting for seats all this time, and you can't just elbow them out. It's also the same way with even the parties that opposition members are moving into. The PRP is the latest one that the existing power structure is saying, Akim Baba Ahmed and all these people are new. Where are you coming from? We've been here all this time. So
meanwhile, they've been recognized by INEC on their portal.
Absolutely. Even the NDC too has leadership challenge.
Maybe I'll do an explainer what I call political aborigines and settlers. That's what's going on now.
Even the NDP has people who are challenging Dixon's leadership.
In that same vein, let's go to the Nigerian Tribune. There are states where, you know, today is the Senate primaries.
Yes.
So we're looking at Ogun State, we're looking at things like Kwara.
Yes.
Akwa
Ibom in some parts. And then Delta. Ogun East, Kwara Central, Imo West remain contentious. Senators plot return tickets. Daniel Campaign Organization directs supporters to boycott Ogun East primary. Controversies hit reps primaries as more. So I decided to take, because this is still the same thing we're talking about, but I wanted you to speak to what you expect to happen today. For instance, in Delta Central, we have the Dafinon is squaring up with Omar Agege, and then Ned Nwoko in Delta North with Okowa, and then Benga Daniel versus Dakwa Abiodun in Ogun East, and the list is on.
On and on. Well, there's some breaking news in the Ogun East. From what I heard this morning, that Benga Daniel has officially pulled out, apart from telling his supporters to boycott, that he himself has taken a stand that he's not going to participate because there's a threat of violence, intimidation, and all these negative tendencies that would affect his people. And he doesn't want any of his supporters that not one single life is worth any office in the country, and as a result, he's stepping back. I guess that's still yet to be confirmed, but I heard that on my way to the studio this morning. But it goes to show generally that even in the Senate, all the things that played out in the House of Reps over the weekend are going to replicate themselves in the Senate. The APC, as I've said, has some anti-democratic inclination. So you see a person like an Okowa, you will see the party favorites, the ones that are backed and preferred by the party structure. You will see them prevailing. First of all, the party has deep pockets. The party will promise the delegates who are voting all kinds of things in situations where they can't get a consensus, because these ones we've talked about now, Delta, both in Delta, the aspirants didn't step down, so they're going for direct primaries. And so you will see contention to where even if the upstart is popular within the electorate, but is not the preferred candidate of the party, there will be shenanigans, there will be coercion, there will be inducements to where the person that the party favors will prevail eventually. So I see an Okowa being the one, to prevail there. Abiodun has already prevailed, even if Daniel was going to contest against him, because you could already see the right
power of the incumbency.
You could see not even so much the power of the. When they had a meeting to anoint the candidate of Ogun East, they locked Benga Daniel out. He couldn't attend the meeting. He wasn't allowed into the meeting. So that already tells you the way it was going to go. So to answer you, Jeff, I'm expecting more of the same today.
So when things happen like this, what usually plays out is that the ruling party will lose some states, because some of these guys who are angry, they won't give up. Since you don't want to carry them along. That's what happened with the PDP. Kelly.
So I was just going to ask, perhaps, in line with what Jeff is saying, is this a window for the opposition party generally? Because some people are going to defect. Are they sitting down?
They can't contest again anyway.
No. You can't defect at this time.
No, you can defect.
You can't contest. You can't contest because
the Electoral Act has barred you already.
Absolutely. The membership register has been submitted. So even if you defect now, you can't contest. Well, for me, the opposition is marginalized in a way that strengthens the incumbent. And unless the opposition can find a way to align into a formidable fighting force, yes, they'll take some votes away from the incumbent, but I'm not sure they can mount a strong enough challenge.
Let's go ahead to the New Telegraph now and see what we can take there. We've done politics already. Let's see. There's the Ebola outbreak. Ebola, WHO declares global emergency as FG moves to heighten surveillance. There are other political stories there, but let's touch on health for just a moment. This outbreak, I'm just wondering how concerned should we be? We've been back and forth. I understand this is another virus entirely, or variant entirely. We have a health expert who's going to talk to us in just a moment. But here we are again, another emergency for us as a continent. We saw the resilience in 2014 when that health worker, I can't remember her name now, who starts Patrick Sawyer, with the pressure and all of that from his country.
Stella Adadevo.
Stella Adadevo, yes. So it's like we're back again to square one, because it looks like it looks like we're not even prepared to handle these outbreaks. That's what it looks. And I'm asking this question because, for instance, when you describe the Nigerian borders, one word comes to mind or paints a picture: porous. When you travel by air, you hear "Oga, welcome, anything for the boys." You see, they greet you specially, ready to compromise the process and all of that. So I'm a bit concerned that it looks like this thing can just find its way into Nigeria.
Well, part of the problem is that we tend to react after the problem has started. Like I heard the Senate President on Friday begin to talk about, we have to intensify the efforts towards state police because we just suddenly had 3 incidents over the weekend. They were not talking about it before, about intensifying efforts before. But suddenly, because 3 major terrorism, kidnapping incidents occurred between Friday and Saturday, they're now saying, we have to intensify efforts. That's the way we've always done things, is that it's after the fact. You would think that we learned enough from COVID And we actually mounted quite a formidable response against COVID, because it could have been a lot worse. The results of the effects of COVID were much more devastating in other countries than here in Nigeria compared to our population, relative to our population. So I would say we did quite a decent job in spite of the ravages of COVID, and we should have learned from that to have an emergency response system for this type of thing, beginning from the airport. Because you see, things like hantavirus, Ebola virus, Lassa fever. I mean, we're talking about 3 major different viruses at this point in time, ravaging different parts of the world, particularly Africa. And you ask yourself, what is our disaster response preparedness? What is it? You know, I heard the Lagos State Commissioner for Health, who acquitted himself quite admirably during the COVID outbreak. I listened to him yesterday talking about Lagos's preparedness, and I would say that is probably quite adequate, but we don't know about the rest of the country. And even if you have Lagos being fortified against any pandemic penetration, how about the rest of the country? Lagos is not the only state in the country, and what is the level of preparedness at the federal level? Because generally these things are imported into the country. You talked about porous borders. When we talk about porous borders, what usually comes to mind is the notion of insecurity, insurgents coming across the border, criminals coming across the border, smuggled goods coming across the border. You never really think about things like a pandemic coming through a porous border. But the truth is, it comes from somewhere. It doesn't originate within. It's carried inside. And when you get to the airport, you are coming in. They actually have health inspection centers within the airport. But like you say, if the focus is, welcome, sir, or anything for your boys, sir, what did you bring for us, sir? How was your trip, sir? If that's the focus, then many things can slip through, you know. Sometimes it's just in even fried meat or, you know, food items that viruses are hiding and that shouldn't be allowed into the country, and they pass through.
You know, I was just thinking, I said, our president and his crew just came back from East Africa. And just watching.
Should be properly checked.
Yes, I'm not saying this is everything happens to our president, please. I'm just saying, where is that? I'm trying to look at the map now. Where is Kenya now? Kenya is somewhere around. Okay, it's likely not
Kenya,
too far.
Rwanda.
Yeah, so it's not. He went to Rwanda. He went to Kenya, so they are not too far away from each other. Especially Rwanda. Rwanda shares border with DRC, right? Yeah. So.
And he went with a large delegation, by the way.
So that's why we need to check a lot. Because, for instance, Lagos and Abuja, because they are major gateway states or cities, we need to, everything that has to be done early. So, thank you so much, Mr. Akintobi.
My pleasure.
For always bringing your expertise to the front line of the pages.
All-male affair today.
Yes, sir. Yeah, all-male affair, yeah.